Tell us about your memories of Kiingi Tuheitia.
Well, I think it's a huge loss for New Zealand, and I mean all of New Zealand. He's had an important reign, but in particular this year, I think he's had a profound impact, not only on Māori, but on us all. His call to the four winds, to think about what it takes to come together around Kotahitanga, I think is an important message of its time. And I also think he's, in a very spirited way, encouraged us all to be confident in who we are. That wonderful statement of, be Māori every day, all day long. And I was here at that moment when he said that. And I remember feeling the ripple as a Pākehā, as well as for Māori. But I've had many Pākehā friends who it's encouraged us to think about who we are together, as well as who we are individually. And that's, for the future, that's the success of New Zealand. And I think that will be King Tehuitia's, it will be a legacy issue that he's gifted us all, and also a challenge.
You were here in government in the time of Dame Te Atairangi Kahu. Tell us about some of your interactions with Te Kiingitanga during your time.
Well, it's been over many years. I was very privileged as a very young politician to meet Dame Te Ata. I mean, her grace and her influence and her pride and her desire to see the language flourish again, she laid a platform for much of what has come since. At that time, of course, the reparation discussions for Waikato Tainui were on, and that was both courageous and important, she and many of her leaders. And then, of course, this more recent 18 years has built on that. And I think the success of Waikato Tainui and the Kingitanga movement, they've grown obviously in their capacity, they've grown in their confidence, and I think they've grown in their influence. I was at Waitangi this year when the King and his people came, and it's a very important set of conversations that have begun, and I hope they'll continue.
Kiingi Tuheitia echoed his sentiments about the importance of te Kotahitanga, not just amongst te iwi Māori, but Māori and the Crown. When you look at the actions of this current coalition government and your experience at the helm, is that possible?
It's always possible. The treaty was a gift and an invitation to us that, as demanding as things are, we agreed to work together. And there will be points of tension, and there will be contested ideas, but I don't think the relationship is at risk in any way. There will always be points of emphasis, and governments, of course, have the right and indeed the need to make decisions moving forward. But also the settled tribes have the strength of their legislation and the confidence in those commitments made together between the Crown and Māori, and I don't think they're at risk. So this is a mature relationship that will sometimes be tested, but I'm not pessimistic. Quite the contrary, I do think that the leadership of Māori and the Crown will be capable of getting through this.
When we look at the Treaty Principles Bill, the abolishment of Section 7AA in Te Oranga Tamariki Act, Te Aka Whaiora, and all of the other perceived attacks on te iwi Māori, did they raise any concerns with you about the relationship between Māori and the Crown moving forward?
I don't think this is the day for me to speak to that. I would be happy to talk to you about that at some other stage. I think this is a day for reflection and reverence and memory and acknowledging our sympathy to the family and the whānau. And then we will come back to the business of the year and the business of the future.
What would you say Kiingi Tuheitia's legacy would be for us all?
Oh, I think that his call for both mana mo te haki, that even as a Pākehā to me, is find strength in yourself. Work together to determine your future. And then Kotahitanga, strive for unity. And as a woman leader, unity doesn't mean we are the same. It means we value and respect our differences and we find a way forward together. And I think the King was inviting us to think about social inclusion, ways in which we value and respect difference and we cherish who we are and we bravely move forward. I live in Kororareka now, and we have a phrase there, hoho turonga, which, laying the peace over everything, whether it's difficult or not. This is the home of the first of the New Zealand wars, and yet the Kawati family came back and said, as difficult as this is, build forward. I think the King has done that in this generation, and his legacy, I think all of us have an obligation. Whoever takes over the leadership of Kingitanga, those of us who cherish the relationships, I'm sure the Crown and Maori, there's much to build on here. But I think the King this year particularly, when he lit the fires at the end of the Hui o Motu earlier this year, and he called on the four winds, that's a powerful image, and I was privileged to be there. But I also hope every New Zealander feels the strength and opportunity in that challenge, because there are rewards if we can both respect and find our way forward together, and I'm sure that's what the King wanted.